Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
I'm Matt Miller.
And I'm Hannah Elliott, and this is Hot Pursuit.
All right, we have a jam-packed show today.
Jam-packed.
We're going to talk to the North American CEO of Mercedes-Benz, or the USA CEO of Mercedes-Benz.
USA, Dimitris Psillakis, who is a wonderful leader. He's been with the company since, for 33 years, I think.
Yeah.
And in his current spot since 2020.
That's like as long as Jesus was alive.
This golden age.
You know?
And they recently, just last night, announced that he will be leaving the position. So we get him at a really good time.
True, but he wasn't talking any smack about Mercedes-Benz.
No, he seemed to really be loyal.
Yeah. He's loved Mercedes since he was 4, as we'll find out.
It's weird when you think about all these influences when you're super young, and they do come back.
Yeah.
You know, it's
for
no
sure.
accident.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw like a Porsche 911 and understood how cool it was.
How old were you?
I think I was about 9, so I wasn't that young.
What about the first time you saw a G-Wagon? Let's get serious.
I was a teenager.
Okay.
I was a teenager.
In the U.S. You were in the
U.S. My one of my neighbors 2 houses down showed up in his dad's, I think it was a 230. Does that make any sense? Yeah, it was a...
Maybe?
It was like a military vehicle, and I thought, that thing is so cool. And I asked him, I peppered him with questions, and it was only on our street for a week because he was borrowing it from his dad. But
that's cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. I mean, these are the iconic shapes of the automotive industry: 911, G-Wagon, and a Mustang. When I was a little kid, my dad had a Mustang.
Really?
Yeah.
For how much we talk about Corvettes, I'm surprised that actually you are imprinted with a Mustang.
Yeah. I've never been a Corvette guy until the C7 was the first one that I really got into.
Oh, interesting.
So anyway, I wanted to go through a few of the emails that we've been getting recently. So please log on to your Bloomberg terminal because I am locked out of my messages.
I'll try to log on.
For not doing my
I'm
expenses. I'm
sightless because I've lost a contact, so I'll try to squint and see my way through.
The main thing was not a car thing that I wanted to talk about. It was a denim thing.
Oh, yes.
So
I remember that email.
We were talking about how a lot of the sort of Americana in terms of clothing, the best stuff is out of Japan. And I may have been propagating a rumor or a myth that I have heard for years and years, which is that the original denim manufacturers like Levi's and Cone Mills or whatever, they gave all of their looms to Japan after the Second World War because they had found more sort of cost-efficient ways to produce cheaper jeans. And that's why the Japanese are the ones that make the best heavy, unsanfordized or whatever. I don't even know what that means. Denim. And we got a message from a guy who was like, yo,
Dean.
Love your podcast. Dean said, I am into cars and bikes and stuff, but I'm mailing you about this myth. You're totally wrong. That didn't happen that way.
Well, he said it may be. He said it appears this may be a myth.
Yeah. Well,
he's not saying it's a myth.
If you scroll down, he attached all of the AI conversation, which I think is absolutely fascinating, even more interesting maybe than the myth.
Well, I'm already taking.
Umbrage with.
Yes, taking umbrage, because I just happened to be at the Levi's HQ Ground Zero in Los Angeles about 2 weeks ago, where they were personally talking about how they don't have access to looms and they had lost the looms because all of the great looms went to Japan. And this is Levi employees, high up in the company.
So it's interesting. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but this guy says the American Draper looms were not actually sent to, Tokyo, and that they used Toyota looms. And the only reason that their jeans are better is because they continue to use these old manufacturing processes, and they actually care.
Because I'm in New York City and I'm traveling with my husband because we're taking a few extra days in the city.
Push that blue
he
button
is
over there.
sitting in on this podcast because he loves the show. And Magnus, this is my husband. He has quite a background in textiles and retail and design.
That's where you made your name initially. Yeah. We've had him on the show, so people who listen
I'm
know.
trying to set up his bona fides here. So
I'm no denim expert, but how I got into fashion was selling secondhand clothing, mostly Levi 501s on the boardwalk in Venice Beach in the late 80s and early 90s. And back then, the whole rage was what was called redline selvage, 501s, and Big E's. And the way I know the story is Cone Mills was the manufacturer of the denim, supplied mostly to Levi's. And back then, the denim was woven on a narrow loom that produced a selvage down the seam of the denim. And that was known as the red line that was in the side seam of the jeans. Later on, it appeared that Cone Mills started manufacturing a wider width of denim, which required a wider loom. So those original machines that wove the denim were dismantled and sold to overseas manufacturers, mostly in Japan. And that's why the Japanese are still producing what's known as selvage denim on these original, mostly Cone Mills machines, which are now set up in Japan. Denim is still produced in the States, but it's on a wider width fabric on a different mill or machine, and it doesn't have that selvaged edge. And that selvaged edge is basically not overlocked down the side seam, and that's how you know it's selvaged denim. That's the story the way I know.
And the new stuff is like, it's not slubby. It doesn't have as much texture. It's not as heavy.
Right. I mean, a lot of the Japanese denim that you see is 14, 16, 18, 20 ounce. Almost feels like cardboard.
These are 25.
Well, that's real heavy weight. So you got to break them in. You know, it's a real badge of honor to break in that hard denim, and that's rigid denim. There's no stretch in it. Like a lot of denim now that's stretched, two-way, four-way stretch might be 98% cotton, 2% lycra to give it stretch. What you're wearing, the heavyweight 25 ounce, is 100% cotton. I assume woven on different looms.
I don't wear lycra. There is no situation in which I'm wearing lycra.
God.
Oh, God.
This is the biggest challenge I have with living in Los Angeles, let's just be honest. The culture of lycra as an option for being in public, period, after 7 a.m., if you're outside of a workout class, is too prevalent. It's really a shame on society.
Yes.
It's the problem with the world. And I would also say, now, this is not a comment specifically to Dean, who was so nice to email us, but I would say that just because an AI summary has some information after you Googled it doesn't necessarily make it true.
True. Fair.
We got to get to the bottom of this.
That would not cross a reporting standard of reporting.
I found Dean trustworthy. I think he said he had G-Body 911, and
yeah, that definitely means he's a good person.
He had like a mint. He had
I can
a
relate
mint
to that.
Corvair. You know, he has some good cars too.
He's got good taste in cars.
By the way, I'm pretty sure he's also the one who pointed out there's another reason that we don't like tinted windows. You know, we were talking about how I hate it when people totally tint their cars.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, as a motorcycle rider, it's also a problem because when you pull up, for example, to an intersection, you want to be able to see the driver so you can tell if the driver sees you.
Facial awareness.
Oh,
so it's very important. There are other reasons that we don't like tint. By the way, since we have Magnus here anyway, can I please ask about the Pininfarina?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, I want to ask about this Battista hypercar that whenever I see pictures of your pad, and I haven't been to L.A., to your house, but I do want to go sometime.
You can
Welcome
stay in the pool
anytime.
house, Matt.
Yeah.
And no, we don't let anybody stay
Whenever
there.
I see pictures of your place, there's recently been this hypercar there. I know it's an electric hypercar just sitting in, it's like what, in your loft, right?
It's like a paperweight. It's what I call OPP, other people's Pininfarina. Yeah.
So, but it's there, I guess, because you have just recently done a collaboration with Pininfarina. Tell us about it.
Well, the backstory is, Automobilia Pininfarina, based out of Turin, Italy, the 95-year-old world-renowned Italian design house, just needed a place to store that car. That car is a life-size resin design study model that was the wind test model that debuted at the Geneva Auto Show in 2018. It's not an actual running, driving car. It's way more unique than that. There's only 2 of them in the world. So I did him a favor, stored the car, and then a couple of weeks later, they said, hey, would you be interested in collaborating with us on a one-of-one livery, both interior and exterior, for this 1,900 horsepower all-electric Automobilia Pininfarina Battista? And so we debuted. The global debut was yesterday, where we showed the world that I'd sort of what I've been working on for the past year or so.
So this livery is, I mean, I love your style, but it's usually I can tell that you've done it yourself, right? And this looks so polished, and like I expect someone from design school to have made this, and there's some, philosophy behind it and a computer generated.
Yeah. No, it's none of
you get what I mean, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm taking that as a compliment.
And I mean it that way.
I mean, the way I designed this car literally was quite a lot of what I like to call 30-second quick doodle sketches, which is mostly how I always do everything. Most of the time, I don't even sketch, truth be told. And then this livery was an evolution of what I call a tape job, which was paper and vinyl tape laid over the car, sort of taking inspiration from an art car. From truth be told, a lot of this strobe effect was from a 70s TA Challenger, Mopar or no car, where they have the strobe down the side. That was my first reference point. And then it sort of morphed into this barcode livery. But in my mind, mentally, I'd always liked that TA Challenger AAR Cuda that had a bold strobe down the side. So that was the original inspiration behind it, which I applied by hand. What you're looking at here is obviously a digital rendering of what I did by hand. And how I worked was I'd mock up the tape on the car and then physically take photos on my phone right there, and I'd send them to the team in Turin, and they would take that inspiration, and some of it was a little too crazy for them, so some of it did get scaled back. But it's a project that I'm so honored to be a part of. For me, it's just a great opportunity to do something with the world's greatest design house.
I'm looking at a picture of I don't know why it's on Yahoo Finance, of Magnus laying tape stripes down the side of this hypercar. And I mean, did you take the picture, Hannah?
No, that's a professional photographer.
So it's so cool, and this is only a one-of-a-kind vehicle, right? So
it's a one-of-one, yes.
Who's buying it? Who gets it?
We're going to find out. Time will tell who's going to buy it. It'll be one lucky owner who's getting a piece of Pininfarina history. It's a drivable work of art. It's an art car. For me, I always say the idea is the most important thing. And as I just shared, this idea was based on a few doodles, some tape drawings, and a barcode strobe graphic. So we're going to find out pretty soon who the lucky owner is.
I'm also looking at pictures of you with Davide Amantea.
Yeah, that's
Dave,
the pronunciation.
a.k.a. Dave.
Big Dave.
So the chief design officer for Pininfarina, which
correct.
That's a title. Chief design officer for Pininfarina?
He's a cool dude.
He's a great guy. I mean, this was a pinch you moment
so
for me because
Italian.
I met Dave at Monterey Car Week, where he just debuted another Pininfarina concept car. And he happened to be wearing my Nike 277 Dunks. And that was how we met. That was it. And then I test drove the actual running driving car and then fell into this collaborative project purely by accident. So this stuff can't be scripted. There's no PR marketing team behind me pitching collaborations to people. It just evolved. And that's kind of organically how my life has been evolving over the past few years with these cool, mostly art-based collaborations. And this is sort of the pinnacle of where I'm at today because it's a world-renowned design house.
Can I say, so when I think of the interiors that you do, I always think of this blue tartan. I don't know why. Maybe in the documentary, in the Urban Outlaw movie, that there's some of that in there. But you've got essentially like a blue tartan on the interior of this as well. Tell us about the interior.
Well, it's a throwback to my sort of fashion background and my sort of rebellious punk attitude, which has been there throughout my whole design career, whether it was on the boardwalk in Venice or the Nike collab has the red and blue tartan in the shoe. And it's bringing elements of my background, fibers of my fabric together. The thread that connects them together is the fashion and design element, which is now incorporated in this one-of-one Battista on the interior. So it's becoming a little bit of a signature touch, this rock and roll thing. And The joke here with the Pininfarina Battista is I'm becoming the gentleman outlaw. This is obviously a lot more refined in the sense of, the level of execution for me has been elevated. I had to up my game. I always say nothing needs to be perfect, which it doesn't. I don't overthink things, but I definitely had to elevate the execution level with Pininfarina, which is a good thing.
Yeah, because this is, it's an electric hypercar. This is like perfect, right? That's the point of this engineering. And I wonder, just finally, what do you think about driving this? Have you driven it?
How this whole project came together was literally over a couple of drinks after I'd driven the actual car, probably 18 months ago, faster than I'd ever gone on my favorite road. And it was the ability of this 1900 horsepower car to put the power down and not lose traction, and then the grip, the suspension, the brakes, the turning. It was a whole package. So I like speed. Speed comes in a lot of different forms, whether it's, makes a lot of noise or doesn't make a lot of noise. These things are deceptively fast because you don't hear the big engine roaring. You hear the tires squealing and suspension creaking and carbon flexing and all of those emotions. So it's recalibrating your mind around. For me, I don't put speed and sound together necessarily in the same sentence as I used to. It doesn't have to be loud to be fast. Sure, loud's exciting, intoxicating, it engages the senses, I get it. But speed comes in a lot of different packages, and this is just one variety of speed.
All right, dude, thank you so much
Cheers.
for jumping in there. So, and Dean, thank you for the emails.
Yeah, thanks. Please keep writing. Tell us if you still think we're wrong.
We got a bunch of good emails. We don't have to go through all of them, but I know one of them was about Mercedes. So, someone was asking about the GLE and the GLA, which, while those aren't the cars that you drove in Rome, you drove the CLA.
That's
and
right.
And not the cars that I love. I love the CLE. We do have the perfect guest for Victor on today.
Yes, we do. Thanks for writing, Victor. Let's talk to Dimitri.
Let's get into it.
So, big treat for us today to have Dimitris Psillakis, the president and CEO of Mercedes-Benz United States of America, here with us live in living color in the studio. I'm excited to be here physically as well.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, so it's a great day for all of us. Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be with you guys here. Very happy.
And this is on the eve of a big grand opening of your new dealership. Not a new location, but a new dealership in Manhattan. Can you just walk us through everything that you guys have done on the new space and why it's such a big deal for you?
As you said, it's not a new location, but it's a totally new store. So going back to history a little bit, we're in Manhattan since over 70 years. And in this location...
Is this your oldest location in the U.S.?
It's one of the oldest locations in the U.S. and a very traditional one. But we have not always been at the same location. So we're there since 2011, and now we're doing or have done basically in a very short period of time a full renovation based on the new standards of Mercedes-Benz. And we're adding a couple of more things to this space. We have the first top-end vehicle lounge, a Maybach lounge, which is our top brand, I would say. We have an extended space, an AMG performance center, as we call it. And we have a beautiful new boutique, also with a collaboration.
Swag.
Yes, exactly. A cafe, and we have also a collaboration with IWC. So it's a space where it's not only more digital than it used to be, but it's modern, it's more, I would say, warm, and it's more a place that you can not only get in to buy a car or to service your vehicle, but you can spend time around. It's a lifestyle place.
This sounds great because I feel like people hate having to go to the car dealership in general. I mean, it's not thought of as a fun thing to have to go to the car dealership, but this place actually sounds really, really nice. Like I might want to be there.
We call it a destination, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not only to go shopping, but you can spend some time there. You can stroll around. You can see some classic cars, vintage cars of Mercedes. You can see some modern cars, some sports cars. And if you end up buying a vehicle, you got to be good.
Too.
But it's not cannot be the reason of visiting the place.
I totally understand what you mean, Hannah.
Yeah.
Except I love going to car dealerships.
No. Do you also like going to the dentist? Are you one of those unusual
I make an appointment
people?
every 3 months.
Well, your teeth look good.
But so I wonder, do more people buy cars now online? Or does everybody who actually buys a car, since they're plopping down so many tens of thousands of dollars, does everybody go to the dealership for that experience?
It's a mix. You have still the traditional customers which would like to go in the store, be treated by the sales consultants, live the whole experience, as you say, kick tires, right?
Yeah.
Test
Of
drive the
course.
vehicle.
It's a lot of money.
Choose it
Yeah.
and walk out with a new car. But you have also the ones which trust the brand, trust the store, trust the sales consultant, and they go fully online and they can complete.
So what's the percentage of Mercedes buyers that go fully online or, via telephone who actually don't ever enter a dealership until they maybe pick up
I would
the
say
car?
on average about 10% of our sales are fully online, what we call from start to finish. And then they might come and have the delivery of their vehicle done in the showroom, because that's a process, that's a nice moment, right? It's a wow moment. Or they get delivery of the vehicle in the driveway, which we also offer.
Talk to me about Maybach. You mentioned the special Maybach atelier, for lack of a better word. Can you tell us a little bit about what that offers these high net worth individuals and why we may aspire at one point to be there ourselves?
I would like you to be our
Yes.
guest on Maybach.
Yes.
It's our top end vehicle or top end brand. It's actually super luxury part of our brand. So we offer these Maybach versions or editions for the S-Class, for the electric, for the EQS SUV. It's the design, it's the equipment, it's the comfort, it's the convenience that the vehicle is offering. And as I said earlier, we have now with Manhattan the first Maybach lounge, so it's an exclusive space with all the samples and colors. And you can also individualize your product with the program that we call Manufacture, and even a step up, Manufacture made to custom.
So you could do that in Manhattan.
In the studio. You can do in the
lounge.
studio, right, in the lounge. So you can choose out of a very exclusive colors, very exclusive interior leather trims, stitching, hoods. So you can basically say you can make a vehicle which does not look like any other else, any other in the market. Or even we go to this made special where you can do and you can stitch and you can choose a color which is not, it's not even in the range of our standard colors. So these are programs which are offered at MB Manhattan.
So when I last had Ola Kalenius on my television show, it was a while back. And I feel like we were coming out of COVID and he was talking about a shift towards just full-on luxury because supply chains were limited, right? And they had the best margins on those, obviously, top-end cars. And I'm not sure how closely they held to that strategy. You held to that strategy throughout the last few years. But now that we're facing tariffs, does it mean a total return to focus on high-margin vehicles because cheaper cars are just not going to be as profitable if you're looking at a 25% tariff to get it in here?
I think we try to be in different segments. Definitely the top-end vehicle segment, we're dominating with brands like Maybach, AMG, our sports brand, with the G-Class. And these are big volume, or US is the number one market. But that does not mean we move or step away from different and other segments where there is more volume opportunity and obviously compete with other brands. During the pandemic, what you said earlier, there were different reasons which also made the vehicles. We had the microchip challenge, so we could choose which vehicles we would first place the microchips and what to produce.
G-Class and S-Class first.
As much as possible, right? Yeah. That was
I would not argue with that at all.
Yeah.
It was an opportunity, obviously, but today you're looking to all segments, and on the tariff topic, it's creating obviously a big upset in the market. Still, the situation is not very clear how it will end up, but our approach is to be as close to the market as possible, adjust our prices and keep our customers loyal to the brand and offer to them our products. I think we're in a good shape. We have just shared a couple of weeks back that we maintain our model year 25 pricing at the current MSRP level.
So you won't be passing on any.
No, until
price.
further notes, until
June, right?
Until any other major change happens. So I think that gives a certain
so we got to buy
tranquility.
Our cars now.
Yes, in the market, and go on
buy
and
buy now.
Yes. So we always try to be adjusting to market conditions and keeping our clients as happy and as satisfied as possible.
You know, I joined you guys in Rome a few weeks ago for the CLA debut, which is so exciting. What's the future of a car like that potentially in the U.S., which isn't as high end, but it's obviously a very special car and the most really advanced Mercedes I've seen when it comes to technology? What's the future of that in the U.S.?
So, Hannah, you're privileged being in Rome, right, which is a beautiful city, right,
yes.
and at the same time seeing the CLA. So tomorrow is our U.S. North America debut of the CLA, and we call it our smartest car ever. So it's not only the beautiful design,
I was blown away,
the space, but it's more the technology that this vehicle is bringing. So. In the US, maybe sedans and these entry models are not the ones which have the biggest volume for us, but as a technology bearer and as the vehicle which brings us into a new era of electric vehicles, of ICE vehicles, with this super technology, we call it a computer on wheels, right? It's very important for us. So we're very happy to have it here, very happy to showcase it for the first time in New York, at our new store in Manhattan, which has, as we discussed earlier, lots of also digital elements and lots of technology in this showroom. So we're happy, and we plan to bring it in the market at the end of the year. And it's, again, one of a series of products which will come in the future.
Is that a car you could ever produce in the U.S.?
This is a difficult discussion and situation, because always you produce vehicles which make sense in terms of volume and in terms of what the market needs. So I don't know. It's lots of stuff.
It's not a car that Americans necessarily are going to be buying in. I mean, Americans like big trucks, right? We like SUVs.
My point on that was really you actually manufacture quite a few vehicles in the U.S. already.
Right.
If we're dealing with tariffs, maybe you would move production of some more vehicles to the U.S. Would that help alleviate some of the stressors?
We're looking to all opportunities. As you said, we are well rooted in the U.S. Since decades, not only with passenger cars. I mean, the GLE SUV and coupe, the GLS. The two electrics, the EQE SUV and the EQS SUV, are produced in the US in our factory in Alabama, but also commercial vehicles. Our Sprinter van is produced in South Carolina, so we're well rooted. Obviously, we're looking to opportunities, and we're convinced and will continue investing in the country. Now, which product and which model is to be seen, but it has to do with what the market likes, right? And as you said, I think US is more an SUV and a truck market.
But it's a good question. I think a lot of people are wondering, how much will tariffs incentivize a big industrial business like Mercedes-Benz to move production? I mean, isn't it expensive to move production? And, this administration is only going to last another, 3.5 years. So do you make a decision like that? How long does it take, for example? If you want to build a new factory in America, would it be done before Trump is out of office?
We have a factory, first of all. Or we have two factories, right, in the US.
But do you have more capacity there?
We have capacity, which we have to decide what makes sense. But these decisions, as you said, take time to be taken and have a long, they should be long-lasting. I mean, we started with our factory in Alabama in the mid-90s, and we have a long history.
That's a long time ago by now.
Yes. So we come in to stay. We invest to stay. So we're evaluating now the situation, the conditions, but we're determined to have more vehicles produced in the US for the US. Hopefully, our products
Hopefully not the G-Wagon, though. I mean, that is...
That's a unique...
That's a unique, but to Matt's point, that is a big truck-like vehicle that I think is sold probably the most in the U.S. I think probably Beverly Hills, because I see them every other car in Beverly Hills.
Plus, Magna Steyr actually makes that. I mean, you don't even produce that yourself.
Right, that's what I'm
really.
saying. Like that would make sense for me to try to move production to the U.S., but you can't. It's Austria. You know, this is such an icon.
Yeah, exactly. There's an icon, such a history behind it. So not everything is easy. It's
Yeah.
not production cannot be shipped around
No.
the world on a short notice.
Yeah.
There are certain prerequisites for that. But
Yeah.
we're looking into that.
If we're done talking about basically,
Yeah, we can pivot.
Okay, so we've talked about the
Dimitri's
business of
smiling.
Mercedes.
He's like, oh, okay.
I like to ask people like, what got you into cars? You weren't born as a Mercedes employee, right? So, what were your first cars that you really loved? What is the first car that you loved that you actually could own yourself? Like, what was it for you?
So, good pivot points. I have not studied automotive engineering. I studied medical electronic engineering, and
Oh,
I started
interesting.
working in this field. But cars were always my hobby. And one of my colleagues triggered me a couple of weeks back. When did you first come across a Mercedes? And I remember, and I went back to my photo album, still printed black and white photos. And I found a photo of myself with, 4 years and being on a small pedal car, which was a Mercedes, right?
Oh,
so that was my
interesting.
first encounter
Wow.
with Mercedes.
Where are you? From
Greece,
Greece?
in Greece. I'm Greek, so that was back in Greece. So I always liked cars. I always followed racing and developments of technology. And I switched 33 years back from the medical electronics industry that I was working at that time, just to my hobby, which was automotive cars, and to Mercedes. The option was at the time Mercedes, but also there was a big dream. I mean, big brands, very successful, long history. So it was for me a big achievement starting with Mercedes. And that's how my story started 33 years ago.
And what are you into? I mean, we love the G-Wagon. I love the CLE.
I love an SL, to be honest.
Yeah, I
Of
mean,
all-
like, what
of
are
all
your
eras.
I mean,
the Gullwing.
You live in California.
Of course.
SL was born there,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
it's the US product. Look, always I'm asked, what car do you drive? And I say I'm spoiled because I can drive any car, any Mercedes car, right? And I love, but I would say, for me, an SUV, which gives you the versatility of driving everywhere, of putting your life in, bikes, dogs, whatever.
I like this answer.
Is for me what makes sense. But of course,
practical.
driving in the cell on a nice evening down on the PCH is
It's
something.
kind of heaven.
Exactly.
It really
It's
is kind of heaven. And it's the perfect car for the perfect
Yeah,
road.
yeah.
But I like your answer that you're not trying to be, front or try to like say some fancy race car or the C111 or, it's a very practical answer.
You're not
which
profiling.
Yeah, no, it's. Yeah.
Car
great.
is a means. It's something which supports and basically fits your life.
It's a tool.
Yeah. Back in Greece, I have an SL, a 450 of the early 80s, which is my classic car. Let's say
What color?
light blue.
Beautiful.
I love it. Yes.
And Dimitri, we just heard the news that you will be transitioning out of the role of top dog at Mercedes-Benz USA. I'd love to just hear, I think you joined in 2020 in your current role, right? So
right.
5 years. Can you just tell us, I don't know, looking back, what you've seen change in the auto industry and give us some wisdom that,
Wow.
that you've
Wow.
learned?
I mean, it's
Because so much has changed.
Absolutely. So I say these were the most challenging and the most intense 5 years of my life or of my career. I mean, if you go back, I joined in at the late 2020, and we're at the beginning of the pandemic, at the beginning of the supply crunch, which we lived, and came and joined a company where basically, I mean, you've been to our headquarters in Atlanta, to a beautiful building, but with no life. I didn't know my colleagues. I didn't know who was around. Traveling was a challenge to our locations in the US, to the dealers or whatever. So it was a very challenging start. But I would say many things have changed since then. We're back into more digital, what we discussed earlier, right? Who was buying a car online in 2020, right? And today, people do buy, or at least gets all the information online. So many things have changed. Many things have moved into our industry. Electric vehicles, plug-in hybrids, again, digital retailing. So very intense times. New products in the markets. I'm really glad of what I lived.
How have you changed?
I think that's a great question. On one hand, that's nothing is given, right? Things can change from one day to the other, and the faster you can adapt, the better you are. So things and traditions do not apply. They help you maybe to make some considerations, but you cannot. There's no blueprint from one day to the other. So that's one thing. The second thing is that basically in all these challenges, what makes always a difference is the people that you have around you. And for me, people is my team, people is our dealers, which are the ones which are facing and serving the customers, which for them was also a difficult time, right? With all of what was going on and changing. So people, no blueprints, and being fast, trying things out, failing quickly, adjusting and moving forwards. That's, I think, what I learned or lived in the last 5 years here.
That's a lot.
What about America? What do you think about being here?
I think it's a great country with big momentum.
Are you going to stay here, or are you going to go next?
Yes, I'm looking to stay here in the US. I mean, I've been 17 years out of my more out of my country, and this is the place we feel mostly home. So, yep.
Nice.
Okay, you mentioned EVs. I have to ask: are EVs still going to happen?
Oh yes.
Eventually.
Yes.
You think so? Truly.
Yes. Yes, maybe not in the speed and the adoption that we were initially expecting, but EVs are offering certain advantages. I can give an example. My wife, she didn't want to drive an EV.
Why not?
Because she had all these concerns of where do I charge? What if the range is not enough? My feeling, I wanted to have the roaring sound of the engine and all that stuff. 3-4 months later, and actually 3 years down the road later, she does not want to step out of an electric. The convenience of charging at home, the comfort it's offering, the torque that you have, she's fascinated. So I'm not saying EV is the only way, no, for God's sake. But a coexistence of electric vehicles, of plug-in hybrids, of internal combustion engine is the future. And maybe in one part of the world where you live in California, maybe to a higher degree, because infrastructure is there, because mindset, because, and maybe somewhere else it's much less. But the penetration, development, and the qualities of the EVs will be much more visible in the future.
I love that your wife didn't want to give up the roar of an internal combustion engine, but now she's addicted to the torque of an EV. You married the right woman.
Okay, yes.
Is she Greek too?
No, she's Brazilian.
Oh, Brazilian.
She's Brazilian,
oh.
yes. She's Brazilian.
Love
But I tell you, the first, when I got I'm driving the electric G-Class now, the 580. And, when you look at it externally, there's no differences, right? Except some little badges with EQ technology or whatever. So for a couple of days, I did not declare it was an electric, and I was driving it. And it has some sounds, right? So the sound, the torque, the speed, whatever. She didn't realize it was
No
electric.
way.
Only when the sign appeared on the head unit, okay, EQ time to charge, whatever, right? And they said, "Oh, that's electric."
See, I like that. I like not even. It's not the defining characteristic of the vehicle. If it works and it accomplishes the task, great. But it's not the defining characteristic of whatever vehicle, and that's great because it's an icon and.
Closing the doors is the defining characteristic of that vehicle.
For the G-Class, absolutely. You have to slam the door.
Yeah.
Still, she didn't get used to that, right? Slamming the door, because in every other car you say, "Be careful."
Yeah.
There you have to slam the door. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been great having you here.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to swing by your new store to check it out.
Looking forward to.
Is it open now? I guess by the time this podcast goes
Sure.
out, it will be Friday. So.
Yeah, by Friday. And the public can go by the new dealership
anytime.
and
Except
see it.
Sundays.
Yeah, except Sundays.
Those are open for everyone, yeah.
Okay.
And there's some surprises there. It's a nice place to be.
Nice. Great
Good
to hear.
talk.
Good talk. Great to hear from Dimitri. And I'm looking forward to going over to see the new dealership. I'm also looking forward to going to the show. By the way, you're here in New York, Hannah.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, you must be here for the New York Auto Show, but that's not.
No.
No.
I'm not going to the Javits Center. I think I'm very happily not going. The funny thing is, auto shows are not as relevant as they have been for press, and that's the sad truth. So there's not a real reason to go over there.
It is true, or it has become the case that auto shows are no longer where the big news breaks.
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes has news. They're just not doing it at the auto show.
Exactly.
They're doing it at their own party.
It's not always where the CEOs go.
No.
They're now more likely to go to CES.
Completely. And let's be honest, no CEO loved being in a convention center all day for 3 days talking to press in a little back room. And that was the format for auto shows for years. And they would just be on a, 20-minute rotating schedule.
Still, I love to go. I wasn't even considering going, but yesterday I had Jose Munoz on my show, who now runs Hyundai, and
would you take your daughters? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No.
Yeah.
I would definitely take my daughter, and I may do that this weekend, because right now I'm just going to go to the press days, but you can bring, civilians this weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go now because Jose's going to be there, and I want to go and say thank you for coming on my show, and also because my new buddy who runs Buell, he wants to go because he's here from Grand Rapids, and he's like, yo, let's go to the show.
I definitely think for consumers, for families, for kids, it's still a great place to be inside if it's a little bit cold or rainy out and look at a bunch of different new cars, for sure.
And I like to go to dealerships too, so I guess I'm just weird in that way. All right, it's been awesome having you here.
So good.
It's been great having Magnus here as well. And it was awesome talking to Dimitri. And we'll be back here next week with Bill Melvin, the CEO of Buell Motorcycles. I'm Matt Miller.
And I'm Hannah Elliott, and this is Bloomberg.